Okay. It does look like it says it's streaming live on Facebook now.
Yep, we are good now.
All right. All right, we had a couple technical difficulties there, but we're going to go ahead and start this one more time. Hi, everyone. My name is Rhonda Farabee, and I'll be presenting for the first half of our presentation today. The second part will be presented by my partner, Delaney Sanbenedetto. We are part of the Senior Community Service Employment Program, also known as CSEP here at Vantage Aging. For today's presentation, we will be highlighting some popular scams that are specifically targeting our senior community. Throughout our presentation, we'll explain a little bit about what these scams are and what they might look like, and how we can prevent you from becoming a victim. So let's go ahead and we'll just jump right on in. How many people are being affected by scams? Now, everybody has probably had some form or another of maybe a spam email, or perhaps even something more severe like identity theft. But I wanted to give a little bit of a statistic here showing us how much we have increased in our fraud reports since 2001. So starting in 2001, we could see that about 1/3 of a million Americans had had some form of reported fraud. And of course, as we continue to move through the years, we can see an increase. Around 2012, we were a little over 2 million. But once we get to 2020, which, we all kind of remember what that year was all about, we see a massive jump here going up to almost 6 million Americans. Although we do have a little bit of a dip in 2021, we still are at an all-time high here. And so we really want to take that into consideration as we continue to move through our technical journeys where we're learning about computers and emails. And we want to be on the lookout for some of these really high-level scams. These statistics are from the Consumer Sentinel Network Data Book, which is published by the Federal Trade Commission, also known as the FTC. They compile various fraud statistics from a database that is normally only used for law enforcement. But that means that there are actually more cases of fraud out there. They just might not have been reported. So this may be on the lower end, and there's probably many more out there that we just don't know about. And in 2001, there were 325,000 reports, but by 2021, the number rose to nearly 6 million. I wanted to just throw a little graphic up here showing you some of the most influential, unfortunately in a bad way, types of scams that we have going on. The number one is investment scams. There's been over $404 million lost in these investment scams, and we will go over that a little bit more a little later on in the presentation. But as you can see, there's also a lot of business imposter scams, romance scams, and I mean, it even goes to tech support, lottery scams. I mean, there's a lot of different ones out there. So today we're really just going to kind of cover some of the bigger ones that show a little bit more fraud loss. So here we're going to take a look at reportings of fraud. In this one, you can see that 19 and under, they had a median loss of around $300. About 48% of people in this study said that they had reported some type of fraud. That's a fairly high number. Almost 1 out of 2 people all had some sort of experience with fraud here. But as we move up through the age ranges, when we get to maybe the 40 to 49, we can see that the median loss there is around 600. And then we have a 36% of people who are reporting that. But let's really take a look at this 80 and over category. We have a median loss of over $1,600, but yet we can see that the percentage of people reporting that fraud is just a little bit lower. So what is it? Actually, it's significantly lower. So what is it that is changing here? We can say that the higher the age, the less reports of fraud. And according to the FBI's 2022 report, senior citizens are less likely to report fraud. This may be due to a lack of understanding the reporting process, or because of maybe some shame or fear of possibly losing their financial independence. Although there are less reports of fraud, the cost of fraud is significantly higher. While the number of fraud cases decreased among older age groups, the median loss amount absolutely trended in the other direction. So why has fraud increased over the years? Some illnesses result in the inability to make financial decisions. This leaves an open opportunity for scams. Illnesses like dementia or Alzheimer's, or even side effects of certain medicines can affect the cognitive function. This can leave many older adults feeling vulnerable. Senior citizens may become dependent on others who may take advantage of them. In an effort to help a loved one, families may hire someone to help. In situations where time is essential, this may be done without full background checks. And this leaves the door wide open for those looking to take advantage of this situation. We also kind of struggle with loneliness and isolation, wanting to find companionship. This could be something like losing a spouse or living far away from loved ones. That can leave you feeling really alone and isolated. This is particularly harmful to those who are seeking romance online or who are finding friendships online. So I wanted to give a little bit of a list of some of the popular scams. I know we saw the chart earlier that showed the financial loss aspect, but truthfully, there's just a lot of different things out there that we want to really be aware of. So there is something called a false investment scam, and we will definitely go into more detail here coming up. We have elder romance, government imposter scams, tech support scams, the grandparent scam, elder financial abuse, robocalls and phishing emails, and email and social media messages. The first one we're going to talk about is the false investment scam. False investment scams really require us to be on the lookout for scammers who want to take your money by tricking you. Older adults are targets of investment scams because they often have savings or other assets that they can use to invest in these quote unquote products, right? The effects of investment scams can be long lasting and devastating. So, what is this kind of looking like for most older adults? Investment fraud happens when people try to trick you into investing money. They might want you to invest money into stocks, bonds, notes, commodities, or even currency. Actually, real estate is another big one. A scammer may lie to you or give you fake information about a real investment, or they may make up a fake investment opportunity. They can claim that you'll likely make a lot of money quickly or easily with little to no risk. We've all had those messages, right? Hey, make $10,000 a week just looking through pennies and finding one with a specific year. You know, there's lots of different ways that these scams can look. And so you always want to make sure that you're following your instinct. These are also known as Ponzi or pyramid scams. Scammers can use false reports, social media, and messages to entice you. They ask you to invest in financial markets like cryptocurrency, real estate, or precious metals and coins. However, when asked for more details, they will be vague and often read them from false materials created. When asked a question they aren't prepared for, they will become defensive and a lot of times even rude to try to catch you off guard. They will make you feel pressured as if this wonderful opportunity is for a limited time only, so you must act now. These scams often start with free training or seminars, but quickly lead to hefty fees for additional training or coaching that promises to increase your success. A real life example of this is that if somebody is trying to get you to sign up for a webinar, maybe you're going to earn a real estate license by doing it online and watching these webinars, maybe taking these online courses, but it's all for free, right? You're going to get all these answers for free. But then you go and you watch the video and you get about 15 minutes in, and then all of a sudden it just cuts off, right? And it shows a screen that says, for more information, sign up for the rest of these webinars for only $99.99, you know? So it really does sort of leave you in this balance of, hey, I got a little bit of information, but now I want more, and they trick you into paying for it. They say the program includes access to a turnkey system of experts. So you're going to learn from the best. You're going to walk away being the best in that field. You're going to learn so much from these amazing experts, and they'll do everything for you. They'll even provide you with the opportunity to learn about proven investment tricks. So how can you avoid investment scams? First, you want to look for information about the reputation of the investment company. You also want to look into the officials and its promoters. Search online with the name of the company, officials, or promoters, plus the words review, scam, fraud, or complaint. So one of my favorite things to do if I'm unsure about an email, an opportunity, before I was hired in Advantage, I always was worried about, maybe applying for a job that wasn't a real job. And so what I always would do is I would type in a company into Google, and I would type in scam or complaint to see what other people had to say about that company. You'd be surprised how much information gets passed to you a little bit. And then when you actually Google it, you come to find out that there's a lot of people out there who are trying to warn you about a potential scam. You can check if an investment professional or company is licensed or registered. Many investment scams start with unlicensed people or unregistered firms. Check out the background, including their registration or license status. Make sure that you do this for anyone who's recommending or selling an investment. You can use websites like www.investor.gov to research investments. This is for precious metals and coins. You can check the CFTC database, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. And you can avoid putting money into stocks, bonds, notes, and other financial investments that are not registered with the SEC. Many investment scams often lure people into buying unregistered investments. Generally, anyone selling financial investments or securities must register them with the SEC. So make sure to check the SEC's EDGAR database and call your state securities regulator for the registration status. Oops. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move on into government imposter scams. So I really wanted to make sure that I touched base on this one because I know that all of us at some point in time have had those bogus phone calls, right, from the IRS. Hey, you owe $1,000 on your tax return, and if you don't pay over the phone right now, you could go to jail. Like I've had those for years and years and years. And so there are a few things that you want to keep in mind. Scammers will often pretend to be from government agencies like the FTC, Social Security Administration, IRS, or they're calling to talk to you about your Medicare benefits. They might even have information about you, which can sometimes be a little scary. Like, how did they find out your name? How did they find out your address? But unfortunately, in today's tech world, a lot of our very personal information is already found online. So if you haven't, really ever tried doing a Google search on yourself, it can be a little intimidating because you start to realize like, wow, how do they have my previous address on file? Or why do they have an old phone number? I never gave that to anybody online. But unfortunately, there are ways for information to be found online. So how can you avoid these? First and foremost, you always want to make sure that you're aware that government agencies will not ask you to provide sensitive information on a whim. Most of the time, if you are needed to contact them, they will send you a paper version, or they might even send an email or a phone call that says, please contact them directly. And they're not going to ask you for any of your information, just right out the gate. Make sure that you don't wire money or use gift cards, cryptocurrency, or any kind of payment apps. They say that you can only pay through these methods because it's harder to track that way. Don't give your financial or personal information to someone who calls, texts, emails, or messages you on social media that says they're with the government. That is never a way that the government's going to contact you. They'll never reach you through Facebook Messenger and say that you owe money on your taxes. If you think a call or message could be real, stop, hang up the phone, and call your government agency directly at a number that you know is correct. And also a quick tip, if the call is a robocall, don't press any numbers. Pressing numbers could lead you to more phone calls. Don't trust your caller ID. This is a big one. Your caller ID might show that it's actually a government agency's real phone number or name. It might say something like Social Security Administration, but caller IDs can be faked. It could be anyone calling from anywhere in the world. And don't click on links in unexpected emails, text, or social media. Scammers send emails and messages that look like they're from a government agency, but are designed to steal your money and personal information. So don't click on any link and don't pass it on to others. Just delete the message. Our third one that we're going to talk about today is elder romance scams. Loneliness, especially during the COVID-19 period, and the development of new technologies have contributed to the continued rise of romance scams. The number of older adults turning to the internet for dating has doubled over the past 3 years, and 12% of those aged 55 to 64 have reported using mobile dating apps. As Americans increasingly go online to find love, scammers are following suit. Older adults reportedly lost $139 million in romance scams in 2020. Romance scammers will tell all sorts of lies to steal your heart and your money. And reports to the FTC show that those lies, unfortunately, are working. These scammers pay close attention to the information you share so they can become your perfect match. It's one of those things where, like, if you like something, they like it too. If you want a serious relationship, shocker, they want one too. But when it's time to meet in person, they'll find any reason not to. When it's time to meet, they often use popular occupations as an excuse, such as claiming to be on a faraway military basis or maybe an offshore oil rig worker. Maybe they're a traveling doctor, traveling nurse. And a lot of those things can really make someone feel like, oh yeah, they do work a lot. I understand their schedule is really difficult right now. And so sometimes people will empathize with that. But the truth is, if somebody's really it falling in love with you, really wanting to get to know you, care for you, they will find a way to meet you. They will even go so far as to catfish for days, months, or even years. And for those who may not know what catfish means, catfish is a term that's used when someone pretends to be someone else online and they don't really show who they originally and truly are. So a lot of times this shows up in ways of them deciding they're not going to video chat you, they have something wrong with their camera, maybe they have a endless list of medical emergencies that they're not able to show you their face in real time. That is something that we refer to as catfishing. So how can you recognize the signs of an elder romance scam? One, if their personality appears too good to be true, it probably is. Scammers often portray themselves with perfect lives, careers, and personalities that'll win you over. They will often use alluring pictures in hopes that their victims will be eager to get to know them. They want to move to a different social media platform, and they want to do so quickly. And here's why. Online dating sites monitor for strange behavior. If a suspicious or unusual activity is detected, the user is flagged in their system. So to avoid being caught by these different teams on these social media platforms, scammers try to move to a different platform as soon as possible, and they will also hop to different social media platforms quickly. So maybe you started talking on Facebook, and then all of a sudden they started trying to talk to you on maybe a dating website. Then they started talking to you on, Instagram, things like that. You just want to be aware of the social media presence of these scams. They will have inconsistent stories. Scammers often talk to a lot of people all at one time, and they forget details about their own lives or that contradict themselves in conversations. So rather overlooking that and giving them the benefit of the doubt, pay attention to it and politely cross-question them. They make the relationship romantic quite quickly. A typical path of a romance scammer might be to declare their love quite early in the relationship, before even meeting in person. They might claim to form a special bond with you that they've never had with anyone else. They make excuses for not being able to meet in person. It's always recommended to be cautious of people who always give excuses for not meeting, such as working abroad. And they'll ask for financial help. This is the biggest one. Everybody out there, it's okay if you want to do online dating, and it's okay to want to get to make friends over the internet. But if they're really genuine to you, they will not ask you for money. Okay. Remember, you should never send money to anyone online or click on suspicious links that are requesting for money. And the very last one I wanted to talk about today is going to be the tech support scam. So tech support scams are very popular and they're really rising in trend. A tech support scam is a fraudulent activity in which scammers try to gain confidence of their victims by pretending to offer technical support services. They could do this through phone calls, pop-ups, text, emails. A tech support scammer tries to fool their victims into paying for fake services. One of these is through pop-ups. Pop-ups that look scary, they look dangerous, they're flashing, they take up your entire computer screen. They seem really urgent. Act now before your computer is completely taken over. They really do induce panic. So you want to make sure that you are not falling into this, because truthfully, if your computer does have a virus, your computer's antivirus software will let you know without it being this big, giant, scary pop-up. They will often make you feel nervous or panicked if you don't take action now. And then they also can pretend to be a computer repair company. This is something that happens to a lot of older adults because if you're not super familiar with technology, you might be a little more on the side of, oh, I'm not sure if I can walk through these steps. I really don't know what kind of virus my computer has. And so you might call the numbers on there, and these people are really good at making you feel like you're talking to an expert. And then they might actually ask you for remote access. Remote access, or when scammers trick victims into installing remote access programs that let the scammer control the victim's computer over the internet remotely. After gaining control through the remote access, a scammer can cause fake computer problems, install malware, or steal your personal and financial information. So how can we avoid these? Do not click on any links or call a number that pops up on your screen. Warning of a computer problem. Hang up on unexpected phone calls from anyone who claims to be tech support. Don't believe your caller ID, like we mentioned earlier, it can easily be spoofed. Never give control of your computer or share passwords with anyone who contacts you. Keep your security software up to date on your computer. And if you need help, contact a computer technician that you trust. A quick Google search will tell you all of your local computer technicians that they have, maybe certifications, reliable businesses, good reviews from others, and make sure that you're going to someone that you know has the correct credentials. So, all right, everybody, that is my part of this presentation. So I am going to go ahead and send this over to Delaney.
Hello, everyone. My name is Delaney, and I will be doing the second half of our slideshow here. We are going to continue talking about a few different scams. And then towards the end, we will talk a little bit about, just how to be prepared, how to avoid them, and some of the warning signs as well. So the first one that I'm going to go over is going to be called the grandparent scam. This scam, normally we see it through a phone call, but they claim that the victim's grandchild is in trouble. Usually the scam artist will pretend to be somebody like the police, and their really big target is to try to get money from the victim so that way they can use that to bail their grandchild out. So really being aware of this. If this is something that we receive, making sure that we are reaching out to our family member, to our grandchild. Um, they use this to kind of scare us into lending money. Sometimes the scammer will even use the real name of the victim's grandchild, along with some general information that they can possibly find online. Um, let's talk a little bit about how we can see some warning signs of this, how we can avoid this. Some things that you might see is one, receiving an unsolicited call claiming that your grandchild is in danger. The caller will ask for some type of payment, whether it's cash, credit card, or wire transfers. The caller becomes very pushy, and this is something that we will find a lot with different scams, whether it's on the phone or whether it's through an email. A lot of times they're very pushy towards us. Um, with these specific types of scams, they really won't let you off of the phone. They try to keep you on the phone as long as they can. They may even threaten you with information as well. So the caller will use deception and can be very forceful. So with these, we just want to take a minute to kind of collect ourselves. Like we said, reaching out to that family member, making sure they're okay, and really not let the forceful phone call scare us or do something quickly without thinking. Let's move on to our next one. This is related to elder financial abuse. This type of scam can actually be from someone we know. So this is not always something that is through a phone call, but we might notice some differences of online things through emails. So with this type of scam, like we said, it could be from somebody that we actually know. This could be from a friend or a family member. Um, or for those who have caregivers, it could even be from them. So, for this type of scam, the person will try to gain access to our finances. They might trick them into signing over power of attorney. If the scammer is a caregiver, they may even try to withhold care. So really being careful with these and checking in on those friends who might have caregivers. And let's go over a couple things that can be some warning signs um, that we can even watch out for, even if it's a family member or a friend. Um, and that could be one, noticing new charges on credit cards or credit inquiries that we didn't make or that the victim did not make. Noticing calls from different companies or credit providers about debt that we did not take out. And lastly, a warning sign is looking at an elderly parent, a grandparent, a friend that is starting to have unexpected financial troubles. So this is just being really kind of cautious of even some of our friends and family members. If we start notice that they're having trouble, things are happening that, like we said, there's money being taken out that they didn't do. Um, Sometimes with these scams, unfortunately, it is somebody that we know who is doing this. The next one we're going to talk about is robocalls and phishing messages. This is one of the most popular types of scams. I know I myself have been hit with some of these as well. So let's go over some of them. With these types of scams, usually we see a repeating phone call or an email that are just sent over and over again, and they try to make us a little bit more vulnerable each time. There is a big pattern with these messages or phone calls. Usually they claim that they are a bank or the IRS or even a company like Amazon or Netflix. And these can be examples such as they want you to sign into your accounts. Maybe a payment didn't go through and they want you to sign in and update your information. Um, they might even try to be very pushy or scare us into, if you don't sign in, you'll lose access. Or if you don't make this payment, you will get an extra charge. So the biggest thing we really don't want to do with these is we don't want to engage. If we do engage with these phone calls or engage with these messages, they will try to take personal information from us, such as password information and financial info. This is one of the biggest ways that we can lose access to our passwords where other people may hack in. Um, and going back over, so robocalls and phishing messages. Phishing is a word that we see here a little bit more recently. It means that a scammer is looking for information. They are trying to gather information from us that they can use in order to, whether it hack into our password, whether it be obtaining some type of financial money from us. So phishing is a word that you may start to hear more and more often related to scams and messages that we are getting over and over again. Something to be aware of these constant phone calls or these constant messages that we get. Um, Usually in a email message, they will have a link that they want you to click on, and they try to make it urgent. Sometimes these links may look a little suspicious. Sometimes in an email, we might see misspelt words. So these are some signs that these are scams or suspicious emails. Um, if we see misspelt words, links that take you to fake websites, one way to notice if it is a fake link is just to take your mouse pointer and just hover over the link. We don't want to click on it. We don't want to open it. But in the email, if you open it up and just hover over it, if it gives you the actual website, if it actually says Amazon.com or it actually says Netflix.com, then it is okay. But if we hover over the link and we get a pop-up box that has a mixture of letters and numbers, um, that is going to be a scam. That's not a true link. It will take us somewhere else that will allow the scammer to obtain information. So one helpful way is just to hover over that link, but never click on it. And like we've been saying throughout the program, they're very pushy with their words. They try to form a type of urgency. This needs to be done now. We need to sign into our account right now, as soon as possible. Those are just a couple things to watch out for. So let's talk again about these warning signs here. Automated calls, which are those robocalls. They claim that you are in trouble. Be aware that companies like your bank or the IRS will not use automated calls. Um, Even if you get an email from the bank or the IRS, we want to make sure we're going to that specific website. We don't want to click on a link to get to that website through our email. So that's where, Google will become our friend as well. Going to Google, searching for your bank's website, go straight to that online rather than going through it through a second party through an email. Scammers will also ask you to verify sensitive information. Um, as we know, when we're looking at things like passwords we never want to give out. Um, Social security numbers we never want to give out. And we may see that and think, well, you know, I would not give my social security out online, but sometimes when we have scammers that are very pushy, making it sound like there's an urgency or scaring us, it is easier for us to make a mistake, for us to send our social security card number over. Um, so kind of taking that second to collect, think about what we're doing before we actually click on anything. A scam email will provide a link that you will not recognize as well. So if it's something we are not sure about, we don't recognize, do not click on it. The next couple slides we're going to talk about are social media scams. Social media, when we think about that, we think of Facebook, Instagram, um, Twitter, or if some of us are on LinkedIn, that is also social media. Ways that we can communicate with friends and family um, across the state, across the country. Um, so it will allow us to keep in contact with family. It's something that can be used for the good. Um, we can share good news. However, there are some downsides to social media that we have to be careful with, and one of those are scams. So we're going to take a little look at some of the different scams here and how we can avoid them moving forward. Um, Now, some of you might be familiar with some of these as we go through. Mostly everybody has either come in contact with the scam through social media or has known somebody, a friend online, who might have said, I have been hacked. Please do not accept information from me. So we have to be careful with these. One example of a social media scam is called a clickbait scam. And through these, their biggest accomplishment is to get you to click on a link. So you might receive something that is from a friend or family member. It might be in a message on social media, and they might have a link that they want you to click on. They might say, "Oh, I found these pictures of us when we were, younger. Click on this link so that way you can see them." Sometimes they might say, "Oh, I found this funny video. I think you'd like it. Click on this link to watch it." Um, when we see those, sometimes there is a type of urgency in those messages as well. Um, we want to be really careful. We do not want to click on these links. A good thing to do with this is maybe to reach out specifically to that friend. Maybe give them a phone call and say, "Hey, did you send this to me? This doesn't seem like you. This doesn't look normal." Most of the time with those, they will be a scam. If we do click on that link, they can get some of our information. All right, another social media scam is called the impersonation scam. Something like this, you might receive a post from your friend asking for help. So the scammer is trying to impersonate somebody. Maybe they create a Facebook page and they use your friend's picture. They try to befriend people that your friend knows. So they're really trying to kind of take the identity of a friend or family member. Um, so they will reach out sometimes asking for things like money. Um, Maybe they might say that, I'm in a really rough time right now. I need some help. Can you please send me money? A lot of times we see this through PayPal, or can you send me money through um, something called Venmo? So we want to be careful with these. The best thing to do with this, if you're online with social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, LinkedIn, is we can report these people. This is one really nice thing that is offered. We can report if something seems suspicious to us. We can report the person and it will allow you to block them. That way, you do not get following messages from them trying to get you to open up links. So you can always report and block people on social media. Another big one is working from home or making money making scams. And yes, this is something that can be through social media. Like we saw a little bit earlier in the presentation with data, things have really gone up since 2020. Um, and we're also noticing a lot more positions that are work from home jobs as well. A lot more people are maybe looking for that type of employment. When we look at things like LinkedIn or Indeed.com, these are all social sites that we can go onto and we can apply for positions. Um, some of these we do have to be careful of. These work from home or money making scams. Normally, these are sent in a message or can be in a private message on social media. Um, First, claiming that this is a remote work from home position. You can make large amounts of money with little to no experience. Some may even ask you them to, I'm sorry, some may ask you to give them money for a startup company or a startup kit, claiming that you give an amount now and you are going to make so much more money over time with that investment. Um, do not provide your information for these. Be very cautious. As Rhonda was talking before, using Google, Google these companies. Most of the time you will have reviews that come up, and they will kind of say if this is a fake scam website, if it's a fake employment. So being really cautious with these, really doing a little bit extra research before we are clicking on anything or finding an application. When we do applications online, we have to some point of personal information, and that is what these scammers are getting a hold of. Some things that we can do if we accidentally do click on one of these, a good thing is to change our passwords to something stronger. Um, if we have a password that was hacked into and was stolen or used before, we do want to make sure that we want to change that password to everything that we have. So if we're using a password that we get on social media with and we're using the same one to maybe log into our bank account, um, that's something that we really have to be cautious with, because if an email or a password gets hacked, a scammer will use that for everything. So they can possibly hack into your bank account if they get your password for a social media account. We really want to make sure that we're making strong passwords. So we're going to get into recognizing scams. So for different signs, one thing the scammers will do is pretend to be an organization, pretend to be a company. And that's one way they can give you phone calls, they can give you emails pretending to be a company, that maybe your password is incorrect, or maybe they have an urgency, they need you to send money now. Another one is scammers say that there's a problem, there's something you need to fix right now, or there's a prize. They might send you an email that says, congratulations, you just won $10,000. Click this link to get to your information. Number three, scammers put pressure on you. As we talked about through this whole program, they really put pressure on you to do something now, to do something immediately. And then another thing is they try to tell you to pay a specific way. They might say, I need you to pay through PayPal or a wire transfer. So they will use a very specific way of how they want money sent to them. So being aware of that as well. One thing to remember, or a few things to remember: do not give personal information away online to an unexpected request. Block unwanted calls or messages. Those are the robocalls and the phishing messages that we get over and over again. We can block those. Do not give into pressure for a scammer to do something immediately. We want you to stop, think things over, even talk to somebody, whether it's a friend or a family member that you trust, before we click a link, before we do something through a phone call. So maybe just taking that second to talk to somebody or to think a little bit, we might receive some information to help us along, and we might stop ourselves from doing something that is a little hasty. We don't want to lose out on passwords or information. To close out and get to the end of our little presentation here, I want to talk a little bit about CSEP. So CSEP stands for Senior Community Service Employment Program, and that is what we are part of here through Vantage. So what is CSEP? CSEP is a paid training for individuals 55 and older who want to re-enter the workforce. In order to be a part of CSEP, we do have some eligibility. We must be unemployed. we must be 55 or older, and we also need to meet income guidelines. We will be going over a link a little bit that I'm going to actually add in the chat. So in case anybody is interested in the application or more information, you'll have that link as well. If you are eligible, you'll be placed in an agency in your community, something that you are interested in, and will receive on-the-job training. Job seekers are paid for their hours through the job training as well. Some ways to contact us. Like we said, I am going to go ahead and enter at the end. I'm going to enter this in our chat. We also have a phone number for Dustin. Dustin is our regional director. So he is somebody who can help get set up with the program if you are interested in it. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and copy this into our chat. This is also going to be fully up on Facebook, so you can always come back and re-watch our presentation again as well. And just our little last slide here, we really want to thank you all for your time, for joining both myself and Rhonda here today. And we really hope that you took away a lot of information. We are not trying to scare anybody with these scams. I know that when we see these a lot, it can be a little scary, but we just want to give you the information you need in order to avoid them. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.